Okay. So, good morning, everyone. Only one second. Yeah. So, good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's SMS. After the last weekend break, we saw that many of the members have said that it's a long weekend. So, एक बार break ले लेते हैं 31st March के बाद. So, today we are back, and today we have Soumya ma'am with us from all the way from Bangalore. So, she's going to take us through the journey of section 63, 64. So, though we all of us know that she's a regular student, regular participant, regular contributor to SMS, but still, I think it's our duty to just give a brief introduction of ma'am. So, she's a chartered accountant and a commerce graduate with over 15 years of experience in indirect tax, and she's from the wonderful city of Bangalore. Her professional background includes indirect tax litigation, transaction advisory, and strategic support to both manufacturing and service sector, which shows her depth of knowledge where she's catering to all the sectors. She's actually involved in handling departmental tasks, including appeals and show cause notices, and she has a wonderful ability to represent before the authorities in different forums. And hopefully soon she's also going to appear before, I think, the GSTAT also. So with this, ma'am, over to you for the discussion on section 63 and 64. And Arpit ji is always there to come in the value additions, and we also have the other members coming in. So over to you, ma'am.
Yeah. Thank you, Arupji, for this lovely introduction. On this Saturday morning, I'm so excited to share my small learnings with the group. I always look forward to Saturday morning sessions. Whatever we may read by ourselves, but discussing in the group and deliberating on each of the provisions, take it to a different level. So that's fair. So I'll just share my presentation. Is my presentation visible?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm audible also?
Yes, yes.
So can we start?
Yeah, ma'am. Please.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay. So 63 and 64, today the topic given to me, this is under chapter 12. So the chapter 12 provisions, as we all know, start from self-assessment. According to me, self-assessment is the most important provision under the GST law. So with self-assessment being such an important provision, the rest of them, all the other kinds of assessments are, chronologically indicated: 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, and 64. When you look at self-assessment and other types of assessments, and we need to compare it with income tax assessment. Is this assessment under GST similar to the assessment under income tax? So we have seen assessment under income tax as well, right? So is it the same or is it different? I want your views.
No, I think it's completely different.
Completely different. So in assessment, see, supposing we file our income tax return and our case doesn't come for assessment, it is assumed that it is correct. And if it comes for an assessment and we are having to prove ourselves that, what I have done, the assessment is correct, by giving the proof, by giving furnishing, supposing I have claimed a deduction under, for insurance or, some ATG deduction, donation. I am having the bona fide, I have to prove the bona fides by providing the proof under income tax. Whereas in GST, I feel that the burden of proof is on the department, because the show cause notice is only issued. Even under all these assessments, last week we dealt with non-filers of returns. Even there we were issued, assessment order that was only a provisional assessment under ASMT 13, where we have to give a reply or, provide response. Unlike in income tax, where we have to prove the bona fides, I feel the burden of proof is on the department. So with that background, let us see what is assessment as such. The definition of assessment under 211. Assessment means determination of tax liability under this Act and includes self-assessment, reassessment, provisional assessment, summary assessment, and best judgment assessment. So we've already covered self-assessment, we already know that when you file a return under GSTR 3B, that becomes a self-assessment. Reassessment is when the scrutiny happens under Section 61, where department observes that there is some discrepancy in the returns. So they will come up with a reassessment under Section 61. Provisional assessment is under 60, and summary assessment is under 64. That we will deal it sometime later. Best judgment assessment is under 62 and 63. So 62 we already dealt with last week for non-filers. So 63 we will see today. So only 62 and 63 are under best judgment assessment. So that self-assessment is done by the taxpayer. The tax authorities do the reassessment, provisional assessment, and other types of assessments. So what is assessment of unregistered persons? So 63 deals with assessment of unregistered persons. For the benefit of everyone, I am reading the provisions itself. Notwithstanding anything contained in section 73 or 74 or 74A, where a taxable person fails to obtain registration, even though liable to do so, or whose registration has been cancelled under subsection 2 of section 29, but who was liable to pay tax, the proper officer may proceed to assess the tax liability of such person to the best of his judgment for the relevant tax period and issue an assessment order within a period of 5 years from the date specified under section 44 for furnishing the annual return for the financial year to which the tax paid not relates. The proviso, there is one proviso to this section 63. It says that no assessment order shall be passed without giving the person an opportunity of being heard. This I feel is a very important thing in this whole assessment, that whatever assessment is done by the officer on an unregistered person does not by itself becomes the end order, whereas the other party is given an opportunity to prove that such assessment was incorrect or wrong. And the other thing is, this best judgment assessment does not mean it is the worst kind of the assessment. It has to be based on substantive evidence which takes it beyond doubt that liability exists. It cannot be just a mere suspicion. So some key aspects is best judgment assessment. This is it's not defined anywhere in the Act, but the proper officer assesses the tax liability using available information, applying reasoned judgment in the absence of returns and declaration from taxpayer. So the basic premise under 63 is the taxpayer is unregistered. So there are no returns that can be relied upon. So what is available may be some third party data or some other substantive evidence is there to prove that there exists a liability, and based on that best judgment is done. So if you go back to the definition, it says taxable, the person liable to be a taxable person is there. If you see the definition of the 63, so they say taxable person. So who is a taxable person? A person who is registered or liable to be registered under 22 or 24. So 22 we already know, you cross a threshold. 24 is mandatory registration. So in these two cases, you are liable to be registered, you are not registered. Or you were registered, but your registration was cancelled under section 29(2). That is a suo motu cancellation. Not a cancellation on my own. If I cancel on my own, then I go into the first category, that I become a taxable person. I was liable to be registered, but I am not registered, so I fall into the first category. Or I had a registration and registration has been cancelled subsequently, that becomes a category 2. So 2 categories are there in for assessment of unregistered persons. Either he was liable to be registered and not registered, or there is registration was existing and it was cancelled suo motu. So only these 2 categories. So this, I thought it is relevant to read 73, 74 also along with 63. So what 73 says, 73, is it only for registered person? I want to know the view of the members. Is 73, 74 only for registered person, or is it also for unregistered?
Any person. Huh?
Any person. So because if we can see, I've highlighted in red, person chargeable with tax. So if there exists some levy on a person, on any person, So then 73, 74 can also be invoked. So which one should the officer choose? Whether he should choose 73, 74 or he should choose 63. So again, I go back to the, the definition of assessment of for unregistered person. So the section begins with notwithstanding clause. Notwithstanding anything to the contrary contained in section 73 or 74 or 74A, where a taxable person fails to obtain registration. So this gives us a idea that 63 is overriding 73 and 74. You all agree?
Yes, ma'am.
63 overrides 73, 74. So officer has to necessarily
Overrides
go
in
through
what manner? Ma'am? I don't think it overrides completely.
notwithstanding anything to the contrary contained in 73, 74. But can
Yes,
he
so-
take both the routes? Like he can also issue a 73 notice or a 74 notice and also issue a 63 notice at the same time? Or which
No.
route should he follow?
Yeah, in that manner it overrides.
Yeah.
No, ideally, ma'am, I think for qualifying under 63, the thing is that he was not provided with the information, data, or documents, whatever he had sought for. And that's why he is bound or he is compelled to go for best judgment.
But otherwise also when I'm an unregistered person,
Yes.
the assessment happens as a best judgment assessment. Is best judgment assessment provided in 73 or 74?
No,
Yes,
suppose
this
I've
is,
done a,
yes, this is the aspect where it overrides 73 or 74.
I feel
Not completely,
73 and
only in this
74 best
aspect.
judgment cannot be done.
no.
Yes, yes.
Best
Under
judgment
73, 74,
method
best judgment cannot be done.
cannot be done. So when the officer is opting for best judgment, he has to necessarily go through 63, is my view. Even though 73 and 74 allows issuance of notice to a person who is unregistered as well. Even then, I think 63 should be followed.
But ma'am, if we are saying that only in case of best judgment 63 would be applicable and in all other cases 73, 74 would be applicable even if there is an unregistered person. So even 63 does not say, see 73 uses the term where it appears to the proper officer. So for for appearing to him that there is tax not paid, so there has to be some information on record. He cannot just straight away go and say it. Similarly, for 63 also, he has to have a reason to believe because 63 says where a taxable person who was liable to be registered but is not so or whose registration has been cancelled. So for being liable to be registered and not so or liable to pay tax and not paid the tax, there has to be some information and that information we cannot say has a lesser pedigree of evidentiary value than the pedigree required in 73, 74. Because for assuming jurisdiction under 63, the first thing which he has to prove is that the person is liable, that is that he is a taxable person. So we cannot say that there can be a straightaway best judgment since information is not provided by a taxpayer. We can straightaway go to 63. 63 also has the same evidentiary value which is required in 73 and the non-obstantary clause. It is because here in 63 it has to be first proved that the person was liable to pay tax. In 73 it is not required. It is only say it is chargeable to tax. Now one more thing which has to be seen is what is the difference between a person liable to pay tax and chargeable to tax? Because these two terms are different because taxable person is not using the language chargeable to tax, it is saying
Correct.
liable to tax. So can
Liable
a
to
person
tax.
who is chargeable to tax would always fall under liable to tax, or these are two different terms? Because this term chargeable to tax I don't think has been used very commonly in the statute, although I am also looking while you will be deliberating that where this term chargeable to tax has been used in addition to 73, 74. Because
Correct.
63 is a specific provision and 73, 74 are general provisions. So because one thing I would like to ask to you also, because because in my opinion the most important aspect of 63 is the two lines which you are presently concentrating upon. Supposedly, a person who is liable to, he is a taxable person. Now, the officer wants to initiate a action under section 63. Whether he has, and he comes to know that the person is liable to be registered but has failed to register, and therefore I need to assess under section 63. Whether first he has to give him a notice for being registered, that why you are liable to register. Once those proceedings are closed, then only he can go to 63, or he can suo motu grant a registration and assess that you are liable. Because in that case, as a taxpayer, I would be liable to answer to two questions. First, whether I am liable to pay tax. Second, whether any liability is there upon consequential determination of liability as a taxable person. So, which route should follow? First, whether proceeding for being registered should be started. Once they are concluded, then 63 should be started, or 63 should encompass both the proceedings simultaneously, and the order should cover both these things. Because once a officer determines that I am liable to be registered, that itself is a challengeable order, which I
Correct.
can file an appeal. And
Right.
then once I file an appeal, the entire proceedings would be stayed, because unless until it is decided that I am liable to be registered, no consequential demand should be created. This is one aspect of seeing 63. And second is, both these things would be determined simultaneously. A common order would be passed, and both these things would be appealed in the common appeal.
Yeah. The other thing
Sir,
that I
of-
thought,
But Arpit, yeah.
Arpit sir, is that, this assessment provisions in the chapter 12 and the 73, 74 under chapter 15. 73, 74 is more of an, adjudication proceedings where show cause notice is issued, and there are no underlying proceedings like, like a scrutiny or a assessment of unregistered persons. I feel 63 is a missionary provision compared to a 73, 74. Because
Where
they
you
are under
want to
two
say?
different chapters.
So do you want to say that 63 has to be read with 73, 74, or 63 independently can be invoked, or officer has to choose whether to invoke 63 or whether to invoke 74?
No, I feel 63 is an independent provision with a non-withstanding clause. It has an overriding effect over 73, 74, which is a very general provision which is applicable for multiplicity of proceedings, maybe under 65, 67, etc. So I feel the most specific provision should be used over a general provision.
May I add something, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
My point is that this non-withstanding section 73, 74, it is because that this 73, 74, there is a issue of show cause notice, then proceedings, then order. So here it is a straightforward section 63. Only he has to give an opportunity. He can assess that. Here only she has to give an opportunity. That's all.
So in 73, you're saying he has to give an opportunity.
No, in 63, only opportunity is required to be there before passing the order. In 70, 74, he has to issue a show cause notice. Then after that, he will give the opportunity of being heard, and then he can pass the order. So that
Okay,
is
sir.
the.
We'll go through the procedure provision also. I have to cover the 100 subclause
Fine.
2 rule,
Ma'am,
which provides the mechanism.
Ma'am, just to add, the term
Yeah.
chargeable with tax has only been used in section 73, 74, and 75 in the entire statute.
Correct.
I think because Arpit, that is been taken, imported from service tax. Because in service tax, that was the main crux of litigation, that who is the person chargeable to tax. So I think that's the thing they have imported in 73, 74. Kahin pe nahi laye.
So then it becomes important that we understand the context of chargeable with tax, and then read it with section 63.
Yes.
Correct.
Because similarly for 62 also, this is there. Because this 62 also starts with the term notwithstanding
Yes.
anything for 73, 74.
And 61 also, it was same.
So ideally, a person chargeable to tax could be either a taxable person or a registered person, both.
Both. Yes.
But
And
then
that's why if you
taxable
see,
person includes liable to registered and registered. So why they use chargeable
yes,
with tax and not a taxable person here?
person. Yeah.
This is something we can defer it for next
Yes.
discussion.
Yes.
Ma'am, you
Correct,
can
correct.
continue
But
So
with
we'll
63
continue.
section.
but yeah,
So
but chargeable to tax, I think, is a huge thing to discuss. Yes, we can have a separate session on that.
Yes, yes, yes,
correct.
yes.
And
So
I think, as
chargeable
Soumya
to
ma'am was
tax.
suggesting, we can go to the rules also for
Yeah.
63.
So suo moto cancellation is the second aspect of it, that when registration has been cancelled under 29(2), then also 63 can be invoked. So quickly, 5
Ma'am,
instances
just to
where-
add, just to put one
Yeah.
query. Supposedly, a registration of a person has been suo moto cancelled from say December 2022.
Hmm.
Now the officer wants to assess him for the balance period, say for January to March 23.
Correct.
Can he assess the person under the same GSTIN, or he would have to give him a fresh registration? And supposedly he assesses in the same GSTIN which was there, which was suo moto cancelled for the period January to March 23. Whether that will hold the entire proceedings liable to be dropped.
Correct. This is what is happening in reality.
Yes.
They are issuing it in the same registration, and they
Yes.
are even covering the entire period, unregistered period and registered period,
Yes.
as one best judgment assessment, which is all not correct. Ideally, it should be that unregistered period should be under 63, registered period should follow 65, 66, 67, and those kind of proceedings. And they cannot be just mixed up all together and, one notice served. So that is what
But
is being
unluckily,
done.
ma'am, unluckily for us in West Bengal, they are issuing it in temp ID for the period
Okay.
after the cancellation.
Oh,
So
that is the
RPT,
correct mechanism.
yeah, so we are
But
not able to
here,
check.
Arupji, many members would be facing the same issue, that in such cases, supposedly the registration has been cancelled from December 22. So a common order for Section 74 is being passed for say April 22 to March 23. So in
Yes.
that case, whether the period which is covered post December 22 is illegally or assessed beyond the statute, because in that case my earlier registration was not valid. So I would seek your views, ma'am, and all the members also on this issue, because this is one very common issue which might be faced with
Yes.
all the persons.
Yes. In my case, sir, I have a live case where the officer, not knowing and having doubt, has issued a 73-74 order also, and he has also issued a ASMT 14 also, just to protect the revenue. And you are having to deal with the same amount, same everything is same, and by the same officer also. So yeah, we'll just continue with this and come to the rules. So the registered person has contravened any provision. For the situations where 29(2) may be invoked is a composition dealer has not furnished return beyond 3 months, or a registered person has not furnished returns for a continuous period as may be prescribed, that is 6 months, whatever, and he has taken voluntary registration, not commenced business. So registration obtained by means of fraud, willful misstatement, suppression of facts. So all these cases, suo moto cancellation can happen. So other than this, I just have seen recently, when you don't update your bank account, as per Rule 10A, your registration also goes for a cancellation. So is this is it also covered under suo moto cancellation under 29(2)A, or is there a separate provision for that? Under Rule 10A, cancellations are happening recently for KYC updation. It's very common
Cancellation
in
is
Bangalore.
not happening under 10A. The cancellation is happening because of not adhering to 10A.
Correct.
The
Yes,
cancellation
yes.
is
Yeah, it goes into
cancellation is happening under
suspension.
29(2)A only.
Yeah, it goes into suspension, and then eventually goes into cancellation because of non-updation of the bank account details by the registered person. It's becoming very common in Bangalore, where registrations are being suspended just for not updating bank accounts. Okay, so 63, the main, the key points I put it, that it operates independently of Section 73-74, and therefore 73-74 is subordinate to 63. The key trigger for 63 is failure to obtain mandatory registration under say 22 or 24, or cancellation, a suo motu cancellation under 29(2). What is the implication? There is a best judgment assessment and issuance of an assessment order within a period of 5 years from the date of specified for filing the annual return. So directly it can be, I feel, equated to a 74 notice, where 5-year period is given for a 63 order also. So the officer is at an advantage using 63 over 74 in the sense that 6 months prior notice requirement is not there in 63. So he can use the entire 5-year period. On the last day of the on the 5-year period also, he can issue a best judgment assessment, unlike in 74. That is my observation for this.
And issuing on last day, and then how enabling the opportunity of hearing, which is mandated by the section?
Yeah, okay, just we'll go through the next rule. So the procedure, if we understand, then, then we can solve this question. So the proper officer shall issue a notice to the taxable person in the form ASMT 14 along with summary in DRC 1. So that is the beginning. So directly an order is not issued. There is an ASMT 14 notice that requires to be issued. The proper officer must allow a minimum of 15 days for the unregistered person to furnish a reply in ASMT 14, issued in ASMT 14. If no reply is received, proper officer is empowered to pass an ex parte order in ASMT 15. If reply is filed, order is after considering the reply and providing PH. So the order is this: ASMT 14, assessment, and then reply in ASMT 15. And order issued, order in ASMT 15. Notice in ASMT 14, order in ASMT 15. But the time period is 5 years for issuance of 14 or 15. So let's read this again. Fails to obtain registration even though liable whose registration has been proceeds to assess tax to the best of his judgment and issue an assessment order within a period of 5 years from the date of specified under section 40. I feel this 5-year period is for the ASMT 14 only, not for the final order in ASMT 15. What is everybody's view on this? Because ASMT 14 per se is called as an assessment order, even though it is actually a notice only. I'm just going through the form. I'll just open the form here. Can you all see the screen? My taxman screen?
Yes.
Okay, I'll just go through the ASMT 14.
Madam, still we are seeing your PPT now.
PPT, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, how about now?
I think you'll have to share the screen again.
I'm sharing. Yeah. Now?
Yes, we can see.
Yes.
Yeah. So it says, it has come to my notice that you, your company firm, though liable to be registered, have failed to obtain registration and failed to discharge the tax and other liabilities. It has come to my notice that your registration has been cancelled under 29(2). Therefore, you are directed to show cause why a liability along with interest should not be created against you and should not be imposed for violation of provisions of the Act. So this is only a show cause notice. ASMT 14 is only a show cause notice. So 15 days before, notice has to be issued and the order has to be issued in ASMT 15 by the 5-year period is what I feel. So what does ASMT? This is the assessment order. It says ASMT 15 is the assessment order under 63. This has to be within 5 years. The notice was issued to you to explain reasons for continuing or conduct business as an unregistered person despite being liable on the basis of information and record produced during the proceeding and amount assessed and payable by you as under. So, tax rate, turnover, everything is assessed and given to you in ASMT 15. So ASMT 15 is the order that has to be issued by the 5-year period. So they get a higher limitation period as compared to a 74 notice. You all agree?
I think the 5-year period is basically for the order to be issued.
Correct. ASMT 15. So 5-year ASMT 15 should be issued within 5 years.
At least 15 days before, 20 days before the notice has to be issued.
Correct. If they don't issue the notice, if they issue ASMT 14, then it becomes time barred. So as such, 17, 18, 18, 19 and all is time barred, I think, for now, 63 provisions also. Because already the 5-year window is already lapsed.
Ma'am, this 15 days reply window, can
Yeah.
somebody can take adjournment? Is there any provision for that, or this is a must window, 15 days only?
No, I think if reply is not received within the set period, proper officer will proceed to an ex parte order. He cannot be, later on you cannot say that, not opportunity was not granted.
No. We receive a notice of 15 days, but
Correct.
we want to take a date. Can we take a date? That is
I think that is possible. I mean, date can be taken, but if it is nearing, limitation period, the officer might be hard pressed for time to issue the order, because otherwise, just because you took the adjournment, officer cannot hold on to the limitation period, right? Limitation is limitation. So the ASMT.
if that is not the case, if that 5-year period is not nearing, it's not expiring, then I think we can request for the adjournment.
Yeah, we can. But I have seen that they only wait for 15 days and then they proceed with an order. This is my observation. They don't, unlike 73, 74, they take little lenience. Under 63, it is usually only 15 days.
What the rules say, the proper officer must allow a minimum of 15 days. It's a minimum of 15 days, no?
Correct.
It's a minimum of 15 days period. So it can be more also, ma'am.
Yeah, it's proposed to be made shall serve a summary allowing a time of 15 days to such a person to furnish his reply. Actually, it says allowing a time of 15 days. That 15 days is I think that is the maximum also that is allowed under Rule 100 subclause 2.
Now, the statute cannot fix a maximum, madam. It's a principle of
No, I will read that
should
rule.
be minimum. We should ask it as
Yeah, I'll read that rule for you. The proper officer shall issue a notice to a taxable person in accordance with the provisions of section 63 in ASMT 14 containing the grounds on which assessment is proposed, and shall also serve a summary electronically in DRC 1. And after allowing a time of 15 days to such person to furnish his reply, if any, pass an order in ASMT 14 after allowing a time of 15 days.
It means that is must, 15 days time.
Yeah, 15 days time should be given. That's all. But he is not bound to give more than that. Maybe he may allow if there is time. Otherwise, he should allow only 15 days as per the rule.
Ma'am, this 15 days we can understand it in another context, that it provides a time limit wherein at least 15 days before 5 years, expiry of 5 years, a notice should be issued. It can never be a case that maximum 15 days shall be allowed, because no consequences of not submitting a reply within 15 days are given. Therefore, therefore, it has to be seen and read in a context that a notice has to be issued at least 15 days before the expiry. And if officer allows, he can give further period, because no consequences or no deterrent has been provided in the statute that he cannot give.
Yes,
So
agree.
this is always an extendable time limit, and 15 days itself I can challenge that this is a very short period to reply. Supposedly, officer issues one notice on, say after 4 years, 11 months on 16th day, and there are only 15
Correct.
days, and he has given me 100 pages of RUD. I can always say that this is a short period, and even if limitation is approaching, law
Hmm.
nowhere asked you to serve me a notice only 15 days prior to the expiry of time limit. So, in my opinion,
Correct.
this is an extendable time limit, and in a way, it only provides a time limit to issue a notice, not a maximum time limit to reply to the notice.
Exactly, sir. I agree with you. So we'll quickly proceed with two few case studies that I have put across. So
75 also will apply for this proceedings.
yeah, sorry, sir. 75.
75 provisions will also apply.
75.
27.
Which 75 what actually? 75 provisions. Yeah, they are generally applicable. No, they are all favorable provision, beneficial provision. So they can be applied for this. 75, which one exactly you're saying? 75-4, 75-5 and all those.
Ma'am, I just want to add one more point here.
Hmm.
I think House is of the opinion that they have to issue notice at least minimum 15 days before the expiry. Okay, but
Yeah.
I think there is another clause also. He has to give a personal hearing also, madam. After that, that is very important. So there has
Yeah.
to be more than 15 days time at least, because then
But the rule doesn't provide that personal. Yeah, even the section itself provides that.
section provides such
Section
thing,
provide
ma'am.
no such assessment shall be done without giving the opportunity of being heard.
Then
But that 15 days includes both the personal hearing opportunity and to file reply.
I don't think that, ma'am. That personal hearing is in addition to the 15 days time of reply.
Yeah.
You know, that is very important.
So at least
May
1
I
month
sh-
before he should issue the notice. I
May I
think.
share two interesting things about this section with everyone, please?
Yes,
if
ma'am.
ma'am you allow?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So thing number one is that as far as the portal is concerned, GSTN portal is concerned, when a notice under this section is issued ASMT 14, the portal does not allow online filing of reply. Portal is not permitting that. So offline reply is forced upon the persons. So they'll have to submit an offline reply, so that may or may not it can say merge with that opportunity of hearing, but that is what portal is doing. Another thing is rather prior to this, the portal in a way encourages officers to get the notice served physically in this case. Though it is available under the notices tab for the persons who are issued this notice, but since they cannot reply, it is also the general understanding there is that in this case, the notice should not only be just issued online, it should also be sent by registered post or delivered, whatever, in any manner, it should be delivered to that person. So these two practices are being adopted on the portal side. This is what I wanted to share.
Sir, this is quite in line because because a uninstructed person will not be having any portal. There is no login for that. So he has to get
No,
like
they
that only.
create a
No, they
temp ID.
create a
Login does
temporary
become
ID.
available, but
Yeah.
sir, still this is there, and just to be on the safe side and adhere with the provisions, etc., and not to be later challenged in any manner like this. So those cautions are being taken.
Sir, you say that they can create a portal for him, but then he has to be informed now that your portal is created. How he will
They
come
are
to know
informed, sir. They are informed.
that? So that
Yes.
information is first. That information has to go physically now. That something has to go to physically to him. Only then this process will start, sir. So when then there is
So what I
something
am saying is, yes, like you're saying, informed. Yes, there is a login ID created that is informed through an SMS on the phone. That information is there. the notice does become available on the portal, but still it is encouraged that the notice should be served by post or whatever. So the date of delivery of notice would be the date of receipt of notice. So those days also, if we try to strictly adhere to, we are discussing a lot about 15 days. I'm not going into those details, but just sharing these two things. And yeah, Malhotra sir, like you're saying, yes, it is in a way to follow this. I agree that I'm also saying that just to be on the cautious side, the portal is doing this. Right, sir.
Normally, what happens is that information is collected either under section 70 or 151, and therefore the information which is collected for granting temporary registration, that is collected from the assessee itself, and he
Yeah.
generally knows that a notice is would be issued. But again, as I said earlier, that the first thing whether they want have to adjudicate is whether he is liable to be registered or not. And secondly, I agree with sir that 15 days is the time limit to reply to the notice. And in addition to that, the opportunity of being heard has to be given. And whatever judicial precedent which have been given in GST regime, it has been clearly said that during the time period for reply to the notice, personal hearing cannot be given even on the last date to file reply. It has to be given subsequent to the expiry of the period given to file the reply. So yes, 15 days would be there. Then additionally, time period to for personal hearing has to be given, and then only the order can be passed under section 63.
Agreed, sir.
Madam,
Yeah.
the question why I asked this whether 75 is applicable, because if you see the wording of 7510, that is specifically
7510.
applicable.
7510 says that adjudication proceeding shall be deemed to be concluded if the order is not issued within the period specified in the 7310 or 7410 or 74.7. But it doesn't talk about 63 at all, my lord.
I mean, in my opinion, even if it is not talking, then also by virtue of the legal understanding, if the
No,
order is not
63
passed,
itself provides, no sir.
Ah.
63 itself provides.
yes. So if the
there is
order is
no
not
question
passed,
of going to
but I
75
do
10.
think that even though 75-10 might not be applicable, but all of the provisions 75, that is 75 4 6 7, that will always apply. And even if someone say that it is not applied, then by way of Article 14, they would have an direct implication on it, even though not specifically provided in the statute.
Correct.
Sir, whether it is a mandatory or because time 5 years they have specified the time, but they are not specified the consequence.
No, after their consequence, that's sir, after 5 years, he cannot issue notice.
It is time barred, that's all.
The time bar then.
No, for 73, it is time barred because 7510 specifically gives the consequence of not issuing a show cause notice. If the statute prescribes a prescription and statute has not given the consequence, then it becomes, it will not a mandatory.
No. Section 63, then section 63 cannot be applied if 5-year period has gone. Then this section is over, sir.
My lord, I think that, these 75 provisions are under chapter 15 and this is under chapter 12 relating to assessment. So I don't think we should, read it that way. Because 75 doesn't provide, the provisions are discretionary. That kind of analogy cannot be taken.
See, in my opinion, the time period to pass an order is always mandatory. It cannot be said that if that analogy is taken, then for all the rest of the provision provided in GST, where
provided, it would be that the order can be passed at any point of time. So you can always say that section 75 provisions are more of a beneficial provision to provide specifically. But even though if they would not have been provided, then also by virtue of the Constitution and Article 14, they would have been applicable.
Correct. And Arup sir, I have one more point here. When, best judgment assessment is done based on 26 AS, which we have seen a number of cases under service tax. So when such assessment is done, they do not have any of our data to do a temporary registration. I mean, coming to the procedural aspect, so they will not have our email ID, phone number, and all to create this one, and it is usually by the taxpayer himself, to get the proceedings on the portal, it is done. So otherwise, it is mostly manual method of, serving the notice and issuance of order for those cases.
But surprisingly, in some of the cases, we have found that the temp ID has been created with some fictitious email ID.
Oh,
And we
that is
already
also
challenged that in Jabalpur High Court. In the MP High Court, we have challenged in one matter where the temp ID has been created in the name of the officer, in the email ID of the
officer.
of a Gmail ID. So to that extent, they go. And here also in West Bengal, we found that they created in some Gmail ID and then they create the temp ID. But again, as Gurjit sir was sharing, I also wanted to share one interesting thing that we face is that this temp ID lifetime is 90 days. So sometimes we have found if within 90 days they don't do the assessment, then in that case they have to close the proceedings. So that is
No,
again
sir.
a fact where
No,
in
sir.
the
No,
first
sir.
case,
It's not like that. It's not like that.
but
And
the
first point
temp ID
also,
is,
sir, just give me a second,
yeah, yeah.
please. The second part of this, the first part of what you're sharing with all of us, that I'm wondering why officers are putting fictitious or their own email IDs.
Because somehow they have to
Putting
create
of an
the temp
email
ID.
ID, putting an email ID is not mandatory there. It is
An
not a
email ID and phone
mandatory
number,
aspect.
both are not my client's number. Both are not my client's
Yeah.
detail.
So the phone number is mandatory.
Yes.
Email ID is not mandatory. So
But
I'm
they've given
wondering
email
why
ID
are
also.
officers putting? Yeah, they are putting. So I was just wondering.
Yes.
That is the first part. Second part, no, sir. It is said that when that REG 12 is issued, that is for creating temp ID, that is the form which is issued, and that
Yes.
is also under a relevant section where the registration is initiated by the officers. So there it is being in a way urged to the taxpayers to obtain a registration within 90 days.
Within 90 days.
The
Yes.
temp ID does not expire with 90 days. Temp ID, once created, it is there for always.
Yeah, if
No,
you
but
want
I
to
think
for a
carry the
temp
matter
ID,
in appeal, I mean, you
yeah,
need to have it, right? I mean, if you
yes,
no,
don't
that we
have,
have. In
appeal,
e-waybill matters, we have it.
later
yeah.
In e-waybill matters,
appeals,
it's always,
refunds, so there may be a lot of things which are there.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it does
So
not
that's always on the
get
temp ID.
expired after 90 days. It
But
does not get expired.
but
Only
Gurjit sir,
thing,
then
sir,
are they dropping
regarding
the proceedings? Are they dropping the
no,
proceedings
sir, there
because?
no need to drop the proceedings. No?
But they are dropping
Why
it. They
should
have dropped the proceedings, and then they've generated a new temp ID again.
no, sir? What is happening? That may there could be another reason for this. What is there is, sir, if I talk about the portal side or this, or maybe say as a taxpayers also, if we are facing such things, like say, let's take the same example which you are taking, that the mobile number and email ID is not correct,
Yeah. So
right?
if I give the live case, inspection happened
So just
first time.
let me complete, sir.
Yes, sir.
So you somehow got to know that there is a temp ID created.
Yes.
And you
Second.
also get to know that the mail ID and phone number is not correct. You
Yes.
can approach the officer to change it or make it correct, right?
Mhm.
If you approach the officer will be able to update the email ID as well as the phone number.
Okay.
Sometimes on their dashboard, after 90 days, that edit option is not made available.
Mhm.
That gets non-available, but there is a process available by which there is just a separate tab they have to go. They have to just reactivate that, and then they will be able to edit that. So maybe that officer is not aware that I can reactivate and change the
Yes.
email ID and mobile number. Uh, I'm telling you the process. On the
No,
side
that is,
of
yeah,
the
that is because
officers.
even in EVA bill we have seen that. But in this particular matter, no. Surprisingly, they have issued a dropped order within 90 days, and then they have generated another temp ID. First temp ID was with our details, all mobile number, and because there was an inspection, and after the inspection, all these unregistered person and all these things happened, and they said the temp ID is there. They have raised the notice. We have submitted the reply. They have not given us a hearing, but they have dropped the matter. And after dropping the matter, they have generated again another temp ID. So we are now challenging that how can a second temp ID be created without my consent, without my credentials? So we are basically challenging that.
I
So
don't
maybe
know why the
what you have
officer,
said is
there
right.
could be
Maybe
some other reason.
yeah. But you're saying within 90 days they don't have to convert it. Say e-way matters, so they are actually converting it into an order within say 90 days. So for the other demands, you're saying that compulsion is not there in the rules.
No, it's not there. It is not there in the process, either in the rules or procedures anyway. That is not there. It does not become invalid after 90 days, or it does
But the
not get
rules, that within
expired.
90 days, permanent registration has to be taken by the RTP.
Yeah, that is what I said. It is sort of an urging to the taxpayer to claim. Say, if I receive such and I am said that within 90 days you should obtain a registration, but I am of the opinion that I am not liable to obtain registration. So why
Yes.
should I obtain registration?
Yes, I have not.
They
Yes,
may be
exactly.
considering that I am liable to registration, maybe due to section 22 or 24. But I
Yes.
have an opinion that I'm not liable to registration. So I'm not bound to follow that 90 days, that just because I've received that, I should obtain a registration.
I just need to check this from the officer's point of view also. So like then what compelled them?
I don't know what could be the reasons, or maybe
Yeah.
they've had some lack of knowledge, or there was some other reason. We can only guess at this stage.
Yes. No, they're filing an affidavit. We'll come to know
Sir,
from that.
we are taking up from
Yes,
Soumya
ma'am's
ma'am the
time. Yes,
session,
yes.
sir. Apologies
Back
to
to
ma'am.
ma'am. Yes.
No problem. That we are all learning as we, do. I am also not fully conversant with everything, right? So these are all day-to-day issues that we come across, and we try to figure out what has to be done. And one other thing that I noticed is Section 63 is silent on the interest and penalty. So is there no penalty, or there is penalty and interest? for
Ma'am,
63?
section 122 would come in. 122 would come in play for the penalty.
Yeah, only if they specially invoke it under a particular
Yes.
section.
Yes.
Otherwise, there is, nothing.
Otherwise, section does not itself have penalty.
Itself does not apply. Fine. So we'll go through the first case study. Mr. X.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
As regards interest,
Hmm.
I just want to, gather the views of the August members present in this chat box. Whether interest is automatic without an assessment, because 50 subsection 1 at one end says you have to pay on your own. And other end, there are some judgments which says the notice has to be issued when an officer is going to quantify the interest. But as regards on a reading of section 73, assuming that, let us say, on the best judgment assessment, I'm going to make the payment for a moment, the tax amount. If I'm going to contest, obviously I will be contesting the interest. That is not the point here. 63 confines its operation to tax liability. That is also a point to be noted. But as regards interest, whether the consequence of interest is something automatic, or the interest has to be, adjudicated by way of a notice.
Think it has to be adjudicated by way of a notice itself.
I think, ma'am, in this ASMT 15, which you were showing on the screen,
Yeah.
I think there is amount of interest also mentioned. Is it not that?
Yeah, it is there.
It is there. ASMT 15. I think there is some penalty amount is also mentioned, or not? Only interest and tax.
Yeah.
I think, can you share that again? So
Yeah,
that
sure.
will clarify the position.
Yeah. There is interest. There is. Yeah. Can you see the screen now?
Yes, we are seeing the screen.
Yeah. So there is, tax, interest, penalty, others, etc.
Yes. All those things are there, sir. All those things.
But
are
it
there.
has to be
Ma'am.
coming out in the order in original itself as a speaking order.
Okay. That will be there.
Ma'am,
So it
in
means its assessment will be of penalty, interest, and everything. ASMT 15.
Ma'am, in my opinion, the query which was there was that when in cases wherein notice has to be issued for calculation of interest, and when notice is not required to be issued for calculation of interest. So if we go through 7512 in section 73, Yeah, and then read with section 50. I think the act clearly lays down the boundaries within which no notice is required to be issued, or cases where notice is required to be issued. So in case of a self-assessed liability, which is where there is not no payment of self-assessed liability, it is pretty clear that 7512 would apply and no notice is required to be issued for recovery of tax and interest.
Correct.
But in all other cases wherein there is no self-assessed liability, because if we go through section 50 subsection 1, it says where tax is required to be paid and the assessee fails to pay tax within the prescribed time, then he has to pay on his own. So once he has to make an assessment and then he has to make a payment. So therefore 7512 and 73 has to be seen in a light wherein the assessment is made by the taxpayer but tax is not paid. Then in such case interest would be recoverable directly, and in all other cases adjudication has to be done under 7374.
Correct. Yeah, it is not automatic. Interest is definitely not automatic.
And
It
that's
has
why
to be-
7512 starts with notwithstanding anything in 7374. So to the extent 7512 is in operation, then only notice is not required. But in all other cases, notice or adjudication proceeding under section 7374 is to be made.
Arpi sir,
Mm.
you mean to say, Arpi sir, you mean to say that 7374 a notice can be issued for only for interest also, sir?
Yes, sir. If the interest has not been paid, then
There is no actually tax is not payable, only interest. So can they issue?
73, yes, sir. That is also a controversy there, which is yet to be decided.
Yes,
Because what is meant by tax not paid, whether it means
Tax.
simpliciter tax or it means not simpliciter tax, but tax along with interest.
That
So
is fine, sir.
that is one thing which is yet to be decided. Although few of the high courts have said that tax not paid means tax plus interest, not simpliciter tax. But yes, it is. We also take the ground wherever we find a beneficial position to be taken that tax only includes tax, but the revenue takes the other position. So it is yet to be decided.
Sir, under income tax, it is clear that interest is tax only under income tax. That has been defined. No? So here
Yes.
they are not defined.
Yes,
like
yes,
that.
yes.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Arupji, if I have to conclude your position, just
Yes.
based on what you have told. Not Arupji, sorry, Arpitji.
Abhijit,
The positions are as follows. Tax liability can be determined under 63 because section 63 by provision confines its operation to tax liability only. For interest, a notice has to be issued under 74, 73 or 73, and 73 or 74 as the case may be, to adjudicate the interest. And for penalty, obviously, under 127, the powers can be drawn, or under 122, powers can be drawn under 127, where the penalty has not been, determined under 73, 74, 63. Then I can take the provisions of 127, give an opportunity, and adjudicate the penalty. So these are the positions for interest.
No,
and
no,
penalty.
I was not saying that tax would only be decided under 63 and interest would be separately adjudicated under 73, 74. I was only discussing about 73, 74 vis-a-vis 75, 12 and section 50. But in case 63 assessment is being done, then in my opinion, the interest can very well be calculated in section 50 along with 63. Because in that case, tax interest is automatic and it has to be decided. Although it is not provided specifically in the section 63, unlike 73. But in my opinion, 63 is self-sufficient for calculation and levy of interest along with 50.
And,
Yeah, because
and you know
73
that
you
ASMT
cannot
50
use for. Sorry, Arup sir, you can.
I'm saying that ASMT 15 also mentioned the interest and penalty also, sir. It means this is a consolidated order for interest and penalty. That is the point. And I think while issuing the notice ASMT 14, he will be saying, because there is a DRC 01 is also issued, there also amount of interest and penalty may have been mentioned. That is my point, sir.
And other thing is, interest only notice cannot be issued under 73 because 73 provision is very clear and it says only for short paid, not paid, and ITC wrongly availed. Doesn't say.
But then in that case, ma'am, issue is still open that whether 73 in tax only includes tax simpliciter or tax along with interest. But yes, we have already passed 10 a.m. and Aruji
Yes.
has come on screen. So we would be continuing it in the next session, just like Ekta
So,
Kapoor serial.
yes. So like Dhurandhar the Revenge, it will be 63 part 2.
63
Okay.
part.
So I think if Soumya ma'am is okay with the time for next Saturday, then we'll plan it accordingly. And as
Yes.
it always happens with all our sessions, we always have a spillover because there is so much of discussion. And I think which is healthy and good. So over to Arpit ji, I think, for the vote of thanks and concluding remarks.
Thank you, Aruji. And I think that the vote of thanks needs to be changed because every time I am forced to speak. I know every time I am forced to
अच्छा
speak
अच्छा
the
अभी
same words.
अच्छा आप पहले आप concluding remarks दे
नहीं
दीजिए, then we'll go to
नहीं
Mailan ji for
Aruji,
vote of thanks.
Aruji, on a lighter side, I enjoy doing because every time I am forced to speak the same word because the quality of the session is such that I don't find any other words to speak. So that's why, so the members hearing would hear different kind of word rather than the same words every time on the vote of thanks. On the
Right.
lighter side, but I enjoy doing it, and I always like to compliment the speakers to take the time out, and they also know that whenever they are taking the session and coming on the podium, the online podium, the members are such that they will not spare them and always throw all and every types of question. They will start with 63, but then go on to 73, 74, 122, just like I have done. So thank you very much to Soumya ma'am for handling all the arrows and all the questions and putting all the key issues during the course of the session, and all the members also to share their views, because as a speaker, the onus is to bring out the issues and have the views of the house, because each and every person attending the SMS is a intellectual in GST in their own aspect. So the level of discussion is always very high, and the captain of the team always leads. So the captain today was Soumya ma'am, and she has led it beautifully. And the section 63, which is rarely invoked, but whenever invoked, it has lot of litigations attached to it. On all the litigation aspects were discussed. And thank you very much, ma'am, Soumya ma'am, for this enlightening session. And we seek your presence for section 64, either in the next session or in the subsequent session as per your ability. Thank you very much, and thank you to all the members for such an enlightening discussion.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you. Thank you.
Thank you, Arun sir and
everyone.
Arpit sir, for
Thank
giving
you.
this opportunity.
No, thanks to you. Thank you.